Extrovert intuition. Na, the idea pollinator. Expanded core definition. What is na really? Extrovert intuition. Na is a perceiving function, but unlike ni, which funnels inward and looks for a convergent vision, na expands outward and thrives on divergence, variation, and what if. Na doesn't want to conclude, it wants to explode. It doesn't care where an idea ends up. It cares how many new directions it opens. Na is the function of possibility sensing, mental improvisation, and reframing reality. It picks up on external patterns and, instead of filtering them down, multiplies them through creativity, associations, and potential interpretations. You can think of Na as a mental jazz musician improvising endlessly off of every note it hears. A cosmic brainstormer throwing paint on every canvas it sees. A reality rewirer, it sees what is and immediately asks what else it could be. The perceptual motion of Na. Na moves like electricity, fast, branching, restless. It jumps from object to object, idea to idea, often skipping steps that slower functions rely on. Where Ni collapses everything into one meaning, Na expands one thing into many meanings. Where C sees the way things have been, Na sees the infinite ways they could be. Na is not chaotic, it's exploratory. It's a creative engine that feeds on external input. Key characteristics. Associative, sees connections between unrelated things, analogy, metaphor, remixes. Expansive, generates variations, tangents, multiple truths. Unpredictable, constant reframing, refuses static conclusions. Playful, often delights in irony, humor, juxtaposition, surprise. Examples of Na cognition. Metaphoric reframing. Someone says, I feel stuck, and the user responds, like a bird trying to nest in a vending machine. Ideation webbing. They hear, education reform, and instantly generate 12 ideas from mobile treehouse schools to AI dream tutors. Instant remixing. Watching a movie, they think of 5 alternate endings, 3 metaphors, and how it relates to both childhood and quantum physics. Spontaneous visioning. Faced with a broken toaster, they imagine it becoming a book stand, a sculpture, or a metaphor for burnout. Na compared to other functions. Function. Perceives. Prefers. Style.
Na.
External possibilities. Novelty, variation. Expansive, improvisational.
Ni.
Internal symbolic patterns. Depth, convergence. Distilled, visionary.
Se.
External, tangible input. Now, accuracy. Reactive, physical.
Si.
Internal sensory memory. Familiarity. Detailed, referential. If an I is an oracular prophecy, Na is a choose-your-own-adventure novel that rewrites itself mid-page. What Na is always doing, subconsciously. Looking for connections that aren't obvious. Turning every input into a launchpad. Asking, what if this thing meant the opposite? Constantly reframing and remixing reality. It is wired to avoid getting stuck in one truth. It needs to keep the doors open. That's not indecision, that's multiplicity. Energetic and psychological qualities. Na brings whimsy, chaos, creativity, anxiety, curiosity, and charm. It often produces intuitive ADHD, jumping from topic to topic not out of disinterest, but overinterest. It is a source of social creativity. Na types, like ENFPs/ENTPs, are often hilarious, surprising, and refreshingly unconventional in conversation. Real-world manifestation when healthy. Entrepreneurship, seeing business models no one has imagined yet. Comedy and art, inventing bizarre characters, surreal metaphors, or unexpected punchlines. Innovation, reimagining old systems with radical alternatives. Mentorship, inspiring others with, what if you tried this? Or have you ever thought that? Na is often the spark behind breakthroughs. But without grounding functions, like si or te, it can stay in the realm of the abstract. All ideas, no implementation. Energetic vibe of extrovert intuition. Na, subtitle. How Na feels, moves, and expresses itself internally. The feeling tone of Na from the inside. To have strong Na is to experience the world like a kaleidoscope of unfolding options. Every sound, image, phrase, or idea becomes a springboard for 10 more. It's not just a function of insight, it's a playground of possibility. Na feels like mental popcorn, one idea exploding into 5 more. Being pulled forward by curiosity rather than destination. Chasing fireflies through a forest of metaphors. A brainstorm that never ends, only mutates. Unlike Ni's inward convergence, Na is outwardly expansive. It tracks what's happening and what it reminds you of, and what it could become, and what it might mean through 10 different lenses, all in the same moment. Energetic qualities of Na. Expansive. Every idea opens a doorway. Na isn't looking for one truth, it wants more options. Associative. Thoughts don't flow linearly. They hop, bounce, remix, and branch. Energetic and restless. It's often accompanied by a kinetic mental buzz, an urgency to keep going. Humorous and subversive. Na sees irony, double meanings, and hidden layers. It can't help but flip the frame. Idea-driven. It lives more in conceptual space than sensory space. It notices what could be added, combined, or reinvented. Non-committal. At first Na resists pinning anything down too early. To choose one frame is to kill the others. Typical expressions of Na. Reframing on the fly, taking someone's complaint and instantly twisting it into a metaphor, a joke, or an idea for a comic. Idea riffing. Bouncing between 4 unrelated concepts in a single breath, all linked by pattern recognition. Playful disruption. Challenging assumptions for the joy of discovery, but what if the villain was the hero? Unexpected inspiration. Having a creative breakthrough from a cereal box, a misheard lyric, or a forgotten childhood image. Tangential drift. Talking about architecture and somehow ending up on dream psychology via outer space gardening. Forgotten childhood image. When Na is in flow, time feels bouncy and alive. You follow threads that energize rather than constrain you. Conversation becomes dance, each idea a partner. You feel like a prism, letting the light in and exploding it into colors. When Na is blocked or distorted, you feel trapped in shoulds, suffocated by limitations or rigid plans. You might spiral into options and never act. You may jump to novelty as avoidance, running from discomfort rather than toward curiosity. You might overtalk, overanalyze, or disconnect from the body entirely. Inner world quote, imagined by Na. This reminds me of that one time I read about a frog that changed colors to survive in space. I wonder what that would look like as a metaphor for heartbreak. Metaphor. Na is like a wind chime in a storm of ideas ringing with every breeze of thought, improvising with whatever the world throws at it. Or it's like a child with a magic marker in a white room, gleefully drawing doors on the walls and walking through them. Na doesn't settle, it spins, it swirls, it seduces novelty into the room, asking, what else can we imagine from this? Cognitive roles of extrovert intuition. Na, by stack position subtitle, how Na expresses itself as dominant, auxiliary, tertiary, and inferior. Na's first function, the dominant, lead spark. Role, perception driver, idea generator, imagination engine. Energetic feel. Life is a kaleidoscope of possibilities. Every moment is a launch pad for playful invention, pattern remixing, and idea branching. Behavioral patterns, constant ideation, spontaneous reframing, mental multitasking. May skip steps others consider essential. Typical strengths, creative fluency, humor, spontaneous insight, reframing challenges, generating possibilities. Risk/distortion, overstimulated, avoidant of follow-through, scattered or impulsively diverted by new ideas. Types with dominant Na, ENFP, ENTP, and Na-led stacks like Na, Phi, or Na, T. To follow through, scattered or impulsively diverted by new ideas. What if we tried this instead? Or, hear me out, what if the opposite is also true? Nya's second function, the auxiliary, visionary enhancer. Role, support system for dominant identity or values through external pattern play. Energetic feel, a playful sidekick, always ready to offer another perspective or idea. Behavioral patterns, uses it to support dominant judgment, e.g., phi, t. Generates options that align with internal values or frameworks. Typical strengths, brainstorming, idea expansion, insight through metaphor and remixing. Risk/distortion, can become performative or reactive, may escape tension by over-generating possibilities without committing. Example pairings, phi, na idealistic creator, t, na inventive analyst, c, na balanced explorer. Let me play with that idea and see where it goes. Na's third function, the tertiary, mental playground/tangent magnet. Role, inner sandbox, self-soothing idea machine, cleverness generator. Energetic feel, a bubbling stream of side thoughts and mental color, often entertaining and disarming. Behavioral patterns, used for fun or escape, shares odd metaphors, silly ideas, or sudden epiphanies. Often surprises the person themselves. Typical strengths, comic relief, spontaneous storytelling, clever tangents, imaginative recovery from tension. Risk/distortion, t, na or phi, na loops leading to overthinking without grounding, escapist spirals, or avoidance of emotional depth. Example pairings, c, na comfort inventor, t, na circuitous analyst, phi, na dreamy storyteller. I know it sounds weird, but doesn't this kind of remind you of Na's fourth function, the inferior possibility gate/chaos trigger? Role, least developed, often rejected, feared, or projected. Source of either disorientation or revelation. Energetic feel, both intriguing and overwhelming. Na in this position may show up as suspicion of change, resistance to ambiguity, or fascination with newness, in small, intense doses. Behavioral patterns, over-relies on structure, te, si, etc., until forced to face multiple options. May feel scattered, paranoid, or gleefully manic when no awakens. Typical strengths, when integrated adaptability, creative flexibility, imaginative reinvention. Risk/distortion, black and white thinking, resistance to brainstorming, sudden chaos binges, or novelty addiction. Example pairings, C dominant types, ISTJ, ISFJ, Te, C, Phi, NIS systems. I don't usually like changing things, but what if I've been stuck in one way too long? Summary. Na brings play, reframing, and innovation wherever it lands, but its tone changes dramatically by position. As a dominant, it floods the mind with brilliance and chaos. As an auxiliary, it gives life to inner frameworks. As a tertiary, it sparkles in the background. As an inferior, it either liberates or destabilizes, depending on trust. Na doesn't seek answers. It seeks questions that open more doors. Na strengths profile subtitle, The Powers of Extrovert Intuition in Creativity, Connection, and Possibility. Core strengths of Na. 1. Pattern divergence and connection. Na rapidly sees links between ideas, concepts, events, or metaphors, even when they seem unrelated on the surface. It thrives in creative chaos. What if this is just like that, but from a completely different angle? 2. Idea generation. Endless spark. Na is a natural brainstormer. It thrives on novelty, potential, and the generation of new angles, stories, and insights. If one idea stalls, 5 more are waiting. 3. Reframing and perspective shifting. That can instantly shift how a situation is viewed, turning problems into metaphors, tragedies into learning, or jokes into revelations. It reframes for freedom. 4. Mental agility. Na moves fast, flexes easily, and thinks on its feet. It's rarely stuck in a single mindset and loves exploring paradoxes and alternate realities. 5. Improvisational brilliance from comedy to storytelling to diplomacy. New users often dazzle when winging it. They think in metaphors, riffs, and rapid associations. 6. Creative risk-taking that pushes boundaries by asking, what if? It breaks molds, fuses unexpected elements, and challenges convention by imagining something radically new. 7. Language play and Whitney minds love puns, metaphors, clever retorts, and novel descriptions. Their speech is often vivid, layered, or delightfully strange. 8. Intellectual curiosity follows wonder, constantly exploring new topics, fields, or ideas just for the joy of the pursuit. It's a ravenous reader, researcher, and mental explorer. 9. Conceptual flexibility. Unlike functions that seek closure, thrives in ambiguity. It is comfortable not knowing, seeing potential in the unknown. 10. Inspiration magnetism often inspires others by offering fresh angles, wild ideas, or emotional reimaginings. It can awaken dormant dreams and light creative fires. Summary. Extrovert intuition brings joy, multiplicity, and transformation to the table, breaking open stale structures with bursts of novelty and insight. It doesn't chase conclusions, it chases openings. It is the possibility engine, the creative rebel, the improv muse that sees what could be before anyone else even thinks to look. Its strength lies not in finishing, but in opening the door to magic, remix, and radiant divergence. Shadow and Distortions Profile Subtitle: The Shadows of Extrovert Intuition, When Possibility Becomes Chaos. What happens when it distorts? From a completely different angle. Extrovert intuition, is a radiant force of curiosity, creativity, and pattern expansion. But in shadow, it becomes unmoored, trading wisdom for stimulation, coherence for confusion, and growth for avoidance. When it detaches from grounding functions like C, Phi, or Te, it spirals into scattered cognition, identity diffusion, and relational dissonance, offering ideas with no root and options with no direction. Core distortions of Na. 1. Endless tangent loops. Healthy Nu explores. Shadow Na avoids. It generates so many branches that no idea can be finished. Thinking becomes a tangle of what-ifs, where commitment feels like death. But wait, what if there's another layer to that layer? 2. Identity fragmentation. Na loves trying on roles, ideas, and personas. But when imbalanced, it loses its sense of self. You may feel like a shapeshifter with no core, adapting to everyone and everything, unsure of what's truly yours. 3. Anxiety disguised as creativity. Shadow can mask deep emotional or existential discomfort by overproducing ideas. The mind spins at high speed not from joy, but to drown out silence or stillness. 4. Novelty addiction. Seeks stimulation, but shadow becomes addicted to newness. Depth, intimacy, and mastery are abandoned in favor of constant distraction. Nothing satisfies for long. 5. Disconnection from lived reality. Without C grounding, creates fantasy feedback loops, idea projection reframe distortion. Life becomes theoretical, abstract, and untethered. 6. Misapplication of insight. Can become overconfident in its ability to understand everything. It reframes where it should listen. It jokes when it should feel. It solves instead of sitting with. Shadow pairings and loops. T-loop, detached idea generation reinforced by internal logic checking, but never tested against emotional or sensory grounding. Leads to over-theorizing, people disconnection, or smug nihilism. Phi loop, floods the inner world with possibility and meaning, but never acts. May spin stories of cosmic destiny, imagined futures, or symbolic trauma cycles without engaging change. C grip. After prolonged spiraling, the user collapses into rigid nostalgia, C, as a desperate bid for stability, craving structure, but distrusting it. Emotional signs of shadow Na. You feel pulled in 10 directions and can't finish anything. You're overwhelmed by possibilities and terrified of choosing. You charm people but feel like no one really sees you. You jump from idea to escape discomfort. You reframe every pain so fast you don't let yourself feel it. Healing and integration suggestions. Reconnect with C. Anchor to memory, ritual, sensory grounding. Return to what's real and known. Choose one path, even temporarily, to reduce chaos and build follow-through. Allow for silence and stillness. Your next breakthrough may come from not thinking. Accept that not every idea needs to be explored. Trust that clarity sometimes emerges from pruning. Ask, what feels most meaningful, not just what's most mentally stimulating? Summary. When healthy, no is a spark of magic, freeing the mind to explore, reframe, and invent. When distorted, it becomes a hall of mirrors, beautiful, dazzling, and exhausting. No's shadow is not confusion, it's ungrounded possibility. Healing begins by slowing down, listening inward, and letting one spark become a flame instead of chasing 1,000 more. You don't have to imagine every life. You only have to live one deeply. No Development Practices subtitle, Cultivating Possibility, Connection, and Creative Fluency with Extrovert Intuition. Why No Development Matters. Extrovert Intuition, No, is the firework of the mind, generating ideas, forging connections, and inviting reinterpretation of the world. But when underused, we may feel creatively blocked, overly rigid, or confined to black and white thinking. When overused, it becomes scattered, anxious, or addicted to novelty without depth. This guide offers practices for developing if it feels dormant and balancing it if it's become overwhelming or disconnected. If N is underused and you want to strengthen it, signs you're underusing Na. You get stuck in routine or literal thinking. You resist improvisation or speculative thinking. You don't explore ideas beyond the obvious. Development practices. Idea branching. Take a single idea and generate 5 different interpretations or applications. For example, what else could this represent? Or how might this be used differently? Metaphor journaling. Describe your day, mood, or relationships using metaphor. Today felt like a rusted bicycle, or my heart is a foggy window. Train your mind to reframe. What if games? Ask absurd or imaginative. What if questions and follow them through? What if gravity reversed? What if I lived backwards? Build out the ripple effects. Random input synthesis. Take 2 unrelated ideas, e.g., a toaster and time travel, and write or draw a story connecting them. Train associative fluency. Creative collage. Make physical or digital collages from random images, textures, or words. Let your unconscious express themes visually. Pattern disruption rituals. Intentionally shake up routines. Walk a new path. Rearrange your space. Wear something unusual. Small disruptions expand perceptual doors. If N is overused and you need to balance it. Signs of N overuse. You jump from idea to idea but rarely complete them. You feel mentally overstimulated or fragmented. You fear committing because something better might come. Balancing practices. See anchoring, memory and routine. Revisit meaningful places, foods, or memories. Create structured rituals that remind you of continuity. Build routines that ground creativity. One idea focus rituals. Choose one idea and go deep with it for 30 to 60 minutes. No diversions. Explore depth instead of breadth. Embodied mindfulness. Practice being fully in your body through yoga, stretching, slow walks. Anchor to breath and sensation. Creative completion goals. Choose one project to finish, not to perfect, but to complete. Train follow-through muscles. Vision simplification. Write your 5 best ideas, then narrow to the one you feel most alive pursuing. Let clarity prune the jungle. Digital declutter. N thrives on stimulus, but too much scatters it. Declutter apps, inputs, and media. Create mental breathing space. Advanced integration practices. Pattern remixing. Take familiar concepts and intentionally reframe them through different lenses: emotional, symbolic, ironic, poetic. Dream streaming. Write dreams as if they're symbolic puzzles. What else might this dream mean? Humorous reframing. Take a heavy topic and reframe it through absurdity, parody, or inversion. It can lighten through levity. Innovation constraints. Impose playful limits, e.g., write a story without using the letter E. Constraint focuses chaos into elegance. Summary. Healthy nu is curious, expansive, and catalytic. Shadow nu is scattered, restless, and fearful of stillness. It develops best when allowed to play, then asked to stay when ideas are honored and shaped. To grow nu is to grow your sense of what else could be, and to trust that possibility isn't the enemy of presence, but its unfolding invitation. Let yourself imagine, then choose one idea and walk it all the way to wonder.